Excited to welcome for our happy hour segment sponsored by Thin Man Brewery, Dave Jickster.
Good evening, gang. I tell you what, 1.6, 1.06. Yeah, that's pretty damn good considered there's a pandemic going on.
Yes.
That's amazing. And it's amazing what you guys are pulling off here again this year. And I know this is a year-round planning thing, but I already played once opening night.
How was that?
Well, the next day was a little rough, but skating is a lot safer, I think, and more enjoyable than running on concrete, especially the guys that we had in the team. Everybody's basically over the age of 40, but it was fun. We all had a great time doing it.
And you were wearing lavender to represent all cancers.
Yeah.
And we're pretty much almost through all of our colors. We've got a few more to go through.
Yeah, I think that was a nice surprise talking to a lot of guys. They're like, oh, different colored jerseys. And, was watching the feed and like, oh, the green ones look great. And yeah, so, you guys always, every year you come up with a nice little surprise for everybody. It's cool.
What's cool is us interviewing you because you and guys like Bull, you're very gracious with your time and you have us on the station all the time, 97 Rock. And we love it. It's, like when we first started doing this event, we didn't on radio, but us interviewing you is kind of cool because it's like reverse.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. It's kind of cool to be interviewed. But 97 Rock's been a sponsor of this since it was created, and there's even another radio station that's a direct competitor of us that's a sponsor for it too. And that's what's really cool about this small little town of Buffalo is like when there's something good going on, everybody kind of gets on board and supports it. And, we have no problem with it.
What are you talking about?
Well, talking about, that sports radio station.
What's it called?
I don't know. But no, I know the guy that runs that sports radio station, Al Davis, who's a great friend of mine. But it's just great how everybody gets on board. And like every year it goes, why doesn't like Al Davis's radio team play the 97 Rock team? I go, because nobody could lose. It would be a bloodbath.
That was like the time that 97 Rock played at the time. The other 92 point something here at Pond Hockey.
Yeah.
that didn't work out very well.
No, it didn't. But one good thing about this tournament is everybody's playing for the cause. I shouldn't call it a tournament, for the fundraiser. Everybody's playing for the cause. It's hockey, so there's always like a little there might be a scuffle here and a scuffle there and some words exchanged, but overall people are playing for the cause. Mm-hmm. And I know we're playing the Queen City Squirrels that have become great friends with a lot of guys that are on that team. Mark Kuntz, who's a great guy, he's a leader of the Queen City Squirrels, and it's like we do it every year now. It's just fun, and we chirp early with the tweets and all in good fun and.
Sometimes we can't keep up with the tweets.
Yeah.
The 11 days kind of watching these going. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on now?
But I think there was a tweet out. I mean, if they can't beat us on concrete, then they can just not beat us ever. Because we beat them pretty bad on the ice.
Mark Kuntz likes lime green jerseys as well. He commented earlier on our YouTube. So I like Mark.
Yeah.
We have
His
similar
partner Dan
taste.
played earlier. We got to talk to him too. So like that's a good group of guys. They're a lot of fun.
They are. They raise a lot of money. Their team always does very well through fundraising, and it's something that you look forward to every year to play those guys and the opening ceremonies and to get the original 40 guys back together. That's one big family. That's always going to be a family. Mm-hmm. And so here we are, at Riverworks, great venue. Obviously, you guys made this work because a lot of things aren't working right now. I mean, it's a very frustrating time for everybody, but this is a little break in the frustration. It's fun and it's for a great cause.
You mentioned family in the original 40, and as families go, there's always bickering that goes on between families. I would like to hear your version of the events that happened, of a little scuffle that happened during the 11 day. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, the 11-day power. First of all, we trained, as you know, like a year getting ready for those 11 days, and it was grueling. And going into it, I remember we all had dinner. You guys took us out for dinner before the opening ceremonies, and I just remember everybody kind of laughing and joking and having a good time. But walking in to the Harbor Center, everybody was scared. because no one knew how their bodies were going to hold up playing hockey 11 days. You're on 4, you're off 8, you're on 4, you're off 8 repetitively, and then a couple times you're on 4, off 4. And then if a couple guys go down, then everybody's picking up shifts for them. Mm-hmm. And that's what we all did. And nobody was really – I think that became the pressure started to go away after we started raising all this money, and the money kept pouring in. And then, like, we had 3 days left. After the halfway point, we knew that you could see the light at the end of the tunnel. That's when things lightened up. But before that, I was scared I wasn't going to make it. I'm playing with a bunch of guys that have been playing hockey their whole entire lives. I've only been playing, I think, 5 or 6 years at the time. So I wasn't going to get bullied. And we had these meetings. And I remember a meeting specifically how from the Edmonton guys that had the record, they said at day 3, you're going to hate everybody. You're not going to want to talk to anybody. You're going to want to be by yourself. You're going to be exhausted, and you're going to basically hate everybody.
That didn't happen.
He was right. I couldn't stand my own teammates more. I was looking forward to seeing the opposing team to see some. But that's I exaggerated a little bit. I didn't hate everybody, but it was a very stressful time because, your body was sore, and now you're starting to get lace bite, and everybody's coming out with their own little injuries. So the pressure was on, and I was determined to make it through, But when the pressure's on and you're in that kind of mood, you don't know if it's daylight out or nighttime. You have no. And then a good friend of ours accused me of stealing his Fred Flintstone blanket.
Was it Fred Flintstone?
I thought it was Hello Kitty.
Whatever. He came on the bench towards the end of a 4-hour shift in front of my teammates and accused me of stealing his Fred Flintstone blanket. So I didn't handle that in a very professional way. And I fouled him. It was like the 10-minute intermission between periods.
Yeah, not a lot of time.
And then I fouled him into the locker room. And, I wanted to get a piece of him. But it was so funny. I was so tired when he accused me of that. And then I came out, and I was so mad it gave me that extra energy. I ended up scoring 4 goals the first 15 minutes. I went back out on the ice. But, it's something to laugh about now. But at the time,
You were motivated. So you mentioned not playing hockey. A lot of the guys, myself included, I've been playing hockey since I could walk, right? So it's kind of more natural, I should say. And a lot of the guys are like that. And you took up hockey as an adult. And mostly, and we've talked about this probably 10 times now with other guys, because of the camaraderie, right?
Absolutely. The locker room and all everybody gets together is the best part of playing hockey is when you're all together, whether you're in a locker room and you go out for beers afterwards. But it was just so frustrating because the guys have been playing their whole lives. The pace of that game, if you look back on that 11-day game, the pace was unbelievable. And it was even worse when you had to play a game at 3 p.m. in the afternoon and those stands were packed. Nobody was if you're playing at 4 o'clock in the morning, it slows down and it's still hockey. And but if there's people in the stands, it's
Saturday afternoon, there's a couple hundred people around.
Or when Rick Jenneret is the announcer
right.
for the opening.
Yeah.
I thought Sarah and I were going to lose it on you guys.
Yeah. Everybody was going full speed.
We were like,
and I'm all right, guys, we got 11 more days of this. Everybody just calm down.
This is the first few hours, and you guys are trying to play an NHL game.
Yeah, and the stands were packed. But every time there were spectators in the stands, the pace of that game grew fast.
It's pretty crazy.
And it was day 8, and I remember I volunteered to play goalie. because I could just stand and not skate. And I remember the pace. I'm like, this is crazy. If it ever comes down to the Edmonton team that originally held the record that we broke, and then they broke it again. But if it ever came down to a U.S. versus Canada world record longest game, it would be amazing. But I really honestly think we'd win because their game, the videos that I've seen from their game, it wasn't nearly the pace that the guys were going at.
Well, they were also playing outside and really cold. Oh, somebody just commented James Gold on YouTube.
Yeah,
Would you do it again?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, I'd do it again. And everybody that I spoke with from that original 40 would say same thing.
I remember one of the things that Russell Salvatore sponsored you.
Yeah.
And he sponsored Per Goal, right?
$50 per goal, and I scored 99. So he wrote a check for $5,000. Anyways, he tipped me $50.
Do you remember why you didn't get the 100th goal?
Absolutely.
Why?
It was slow motion. So it was my last shift. I knew it was my last shift, and you were out there with me, and you gave me a perfect pass, which kind of caught me off guard because usually I have to reach for it. And Sully was playing goalie, and I remember just looking up at him and seeing the short side, and I just fired it as hard as I could, and I shot it 3 feet wide. But the great part about that story is Drew got the rebound. Drew
Case
is a cancer survivor. So the other cancer survivor that dropped the opening ceremony pucks was Pete Merlot and Drew Case. They both scored their last shifts of that game. So I shot the puck 3 feet wide. Drew picked up the rebound, skated around, and scored. And I was more happy to see him score that goal than me. So that actually worked out well.
That's awesome.
And I played with him for 11 days, so he knew I was going to shoot it wide.
You did.
Yeah, Alan Davis agrees
Yeah.
with me. Canada played outside for 11 straight days and really,
That's
really
because
cold
there's not a lot
weather.
of shelter in Canada.
So the farm.
Yeah. There's some igloos and stuff, but other than that,
I'm trying to get a.
just kidding, Canadian friends.
I'm trying to get trying to get Brent's sake, Dr. Brent's sake, Odin's the record. They've done it like 6, maybe 7 times now. Super great. I mean, really gracious guys. They've raised probably $10 million at this point for cancer causes. And Al's wrong again. They do it in February
Right.
in Alberta
It's much warmer.
at an outdoor rink. So the challenge is on. We know what we have to do. So at some point in the next year or so, I think we're gonna maybe see what we can do about breaking the record again.
I think it would be a lot easier. We know what to expect.
I think
Right?
it would be a lot easier. I think guys would take conditioning a little bit more seriously than they did. But everybody was fit when that puck dropped, and guys fought through their injuries. You know, if it wasn't for Excelsior,
A ball just came flying over your head.
if it wasn't for Excelsior, it would have been
Damn
like the
Junior
11-hour power play. I mean, those guys, stretched everybody out and taped everybody up. But it's something that I think all the guys, the original 40 guys, think about every day of their lives. They sometime during that day they think about what a great time that was and how special it is. And I think all the other teams now that have played in the community shifts have a lot of respect, a lot more respect for the guys that played the original game, because they played 3 hours or 4 hours on the ice and knew how excruciating pain that was after they were finished. So yeah.
So we know it was challenging. Like, what was your most favorite part of that original event?
My most favorite, I said there's too many to mention, but towards the end, when you knew you were going to physically make it, you knew the money we raised. Les, our second from last shift, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and 300 kids. I shouldn't call them kids. They were all ages, from like 16.
It was the Buffalo Soul Roll, the bike ride that comes Sunday nights.
It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. The
Yeah.
stands filled up, and every time someone touched a puck,
They were
they
banging
cheered.
on the glass.
They're banging on the glass. It was the closest I'll ever come to playing in a Division I college game or in an arena. But it was crazy.
The timing was perfect because we were, you're dragging at that point.
Mhm.
But we finished early on a Monday, like 7 a.m. on a Monday. That was like 3 a.m. Sunday. So that it was like the timing was perfect.
Yeah. And my other favorite part was after we got some rest after that second from the last shift. I was all done. I knew we had to play the last hour to break the record, but I'm like, this is great, and your momentum took you right through that.
It did.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then when it was all over, it was.
And we were drinking alcohol at 8 in the morning.
When it was all over, it was like winning the Stanley Cup. I mean, it was that great of a feeling of accomplishment. It was like, oh my God, we all did this.
One of my favorite tweets. There was a picture of Hainsey, Jeff Haynes, and he had a beer. It was probably,
of course he did.
It was probably like 5 or 10 minutes before we were done. He was all grizzled, beard.
Of course he was.
Of course he looked ragged. And someone took a picture of it, and they tweeted out, "These dudes just played 11 days of hockey. It's 7 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, and this guy just cracked a blue light. What's more Buffalo than that?"
That's a great tweet. Yeah,
Well-
and a friend of mine actually, I think you've seen it, both of you, made a book They came up from Atlanta. I was actually playing for her father, who passed away from liver cancer, 3 years ago. So he passed away in May, a month and a half before the event. But she actually made a book, and she collected. I don't know if you even did this, Amy. She collected all the tweets, all the national tweets from ESPN and CNN and Fox and she put them all in a book for me.
Well, that's awesome.
With a bunch of
You
pictures.
have to share that with me.
Yeah, it's really cool of the attention, and it was an international story as well. It should have been.
Awesome.
And it'll happen again.
Hey, Jix, have you ever met Greg Biliati from KTC Brew Bus Buffalo?
Bill Shafluke is like top fundraiser. Great guy.
I must have
Ever
met
met
him.
Oh yeah.
I know I've introduced him.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I
You
had a
definitely
chance
have.
to sit with him today, and we're gonna meet him now.
Great.
Thanks, Jix.
Welcome.